What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of College Football Showdown. Here with my guy Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz blog. And yes, the marathon does continue. But we are here with the two remaining teams of the college football playoff. But before I start the show, guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World. And in case you missed us, you can catch us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Christian, what a hell of a weekend last weekend when it comes down to the college football playoff.
Yeah, it really will. Well, first off, Happy New Year, brother. Man, it's the first one we're doing of the year and many more to come. But Alabama and Michigan was truly a dream matchup. I think that game was as good.
Christian, are you still there? Matt, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, brother.
Yeah, I think we might have lost Christian. He might have to come back on the stream. Yeah, but this was a hell of a matchup. Like Christian was alluding to. A hell of a college football playoff. As Christian was alluding to before we lost him here. We'll get him back here soon. But yeah, Matt, I want to get your thoughts on the college football playoff.
No, this is going to be another fantastic game. I mean, two good defenses, great quarterbacks going at each other. Penix Jr. and JJ McCarthy. Good running games. I mean, this will be a fun game. I mean, both teams, the Pac-12 last stand right here. So, let's see if Washington can pull it off for the Pac-12.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Christian, you back on the show? I think we're having some difficulties with Christian here in his audio. But yeah, no, it was a hell of a matchup between Big Ten and SEC powerhouses in Michigan, Alabama started off with that, and then we had a didn't look like it was much. It looked like Washington had control of that game. We'll get to it, and they had kind of a late game gaffe there at the end that pretty much put Texas in a position to possibly win that football game at the end. But we'll get right into it. Christian, are you there with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead and finish your thoughts on what you were saying, Christian.
Nah, man. I think I said everything I needed to say about Alabama and Michigan, but Texas and Washington did not disappoint. I thought Washington was about to let us down, but that defense held it together when they needed to. Texas just couldn't get into a rhythm, and I think they got too far behind to the point where Washington was in control. But, I know we're probably going to go more in depth with the breakdown.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And first game on the slate, we have the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl between Michigan and Alabama. 27-20, Michigan prevails. Alabama 288 total yards on the day to Michigan's 351 total yards. It looked like Michigan was able to move the ball a little bit more. That third quarter, honestly, that second half of that game, Michigan just could not get the ball rolling until the last 2-3 minutes, until that last drive to tie the game, essentially. As Alabama kind of figured them out, they bottled up JJ McCarthy. Speaking of JJ McCarthy, 17-21, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns. Blake Corum had 83 yards on the day and a touchdown. I believe he broke a Michigan. I believe he broke the Michigan rushing touchdown record.
Yeah, he did.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, for a single season. So shout out to Blake Corum and doing that. And then Chase McClellan, 14 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. In this game, man, Jalen Milroe didn't have much time in the pocket. He struggled pretty much majority of this game. He was sacked 6 times. as that Michigan Wolverines defense was just stifling majority of that first half and pretty much into the third quarter. It was really too close to too close for comfort. But Alabama did find a way to score a touchdown. They also took advantage of they also took advantage of good field position both times, and they were able to extend the lead to 7 points, I believe. And then Michigan went down with the last in a 2-minute drill and scored a touchdown to tie the game up and send it to OT in this game. And then the overtime, where Michigan scores right off the bat. And then Alabama, is on its last try. There's 2 timeouts called, and they decided to run a quarterback power, and the same quarterback power that's pretty much been working majority of the second half for Jalen Milroe in Alabama. I'll start with you, Christian. Your thoughts on how this game played out?
Man, it's one of the best football games I've seen all year, whether it's been in the NFL or college football. But you see the difference that Blake Corum makes. And Izzy, I've been saying this to you all year. If Blake Corum plays in that college football playoff game last year against TCU, Michigan wins that game. You see the difference he makes compared to not having him on the field. It just seemed like it was a tale of two halves. Alabama dominating the first half, Michigan really getting it together in the second half. But remember, I also told the both you guys throughout the year, if there was anything that was going to concern me about Alabama, it was going to be this offensive line, because they had some glaring holes, and Saban's probably going to bulk up those trenches during recruitment time and in the spring, going into camp in the summer, and then obviously going into next fall. But great win for Michigan. I mean, Michigan just they found a way to persevere and push through, and this is why they're on their way to Houston right now.
Absolutely, Matt.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, Christian. I mean, Michigan fought through this. I mean, it's not easy going into a game against Nick Saban. Give him a month. That's a century to him, getting ready for this type of game. And Jim Harbaugh finally found a way to win, the big game in college. So congrats to him and Michigan, and going on to the championship now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's another story. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh finally, winning another big game. It seems like the last couple years, there's a lot of hype about him not being able to beat Ohio State. Well, they beat Ohio State 3 years in a row. 2 times with Harbaugh on the sideline. And they weren't able. He wasn't able to win a CFP game. Finally wins a CFP game, advances to the national championship, and I mean, pretty much. I mean, he's an untouchable guy. There. I mean, Jim Harbaugh went from being on the hot seat to now Michigan to throw whatever dollar amount that he wishes at him. That's how much Jim Harbaugh's turned his Michigan coaching career around in the last 3 seasons. So he has been fantastic, and getting those guys prepared. And I mean, the evolution of JJ McCarthy in this offense really has been tremendous for this football team.
He's
just looking better. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Go ahead,
to
Christian.
piggyback off that, I really don't think Michigan would be here with Cade McNamara. I just didn't think Cade McNamara didn't move the needle for me. I knew JJ was special when I saw him go into the shoe a few years ago and just pretty much outplay a Heisman candidate in CJ Stroud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, another thing is congrats to Blake Corum. I mean, he had a hell of a season this year too. Everybody, says, "Oh, Michigan had a soft schedule," but he went in and did his thing, and he scored touchdowns. He got the yards, and I mean, the Michigan's defense played well. So, congratulations to what they were able to accomplish this year. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and then also, what Alabama, on the other side, what Alabama was able to accomplish. I mean, this team
yeah,
was, had to fight ever since they lost to Texas. The Milroe Miracle, from the Milroe Miracle against Auburn to beating Georgia. Stopping a team that was dominant for 3 years in a row, pretty much. What was it? 73. How many games in a row was it? 38 or
I
something
think
like that.
38 or
about
30.
38. Yeah,
38 games in a row that they stopped. So I mean, Alabama has to, can't hang their head on this loss. This is a
yeah.
tough win.
Congratulations to them too.
This is a tough loss. And Saban showed his, coaching prowess with this one this season by galvanizing the troops. Turning it around. Milroe turning it around. I know he, didn't like the outcome in this game, but he showed some guts in that second half. With getting Alabama a 7-point lead, just the defense just couldn't, hang on to it. And they got to give
I mean,
themselves a pat on the back. They had a tremendous season, and they got it. They got them there. And we also, we all probably pretty much thought that whoever wins this game was probably going to be the favorite in the CFP national championship, and this kind of felt like a national championship type of game
Definitely.
atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely did, man. One of the best games I've thoroughly enjoyed all year long. Both teams are hard hitting and physical, and unfortunately, only one could win. And Michigan just made one more play than Alabama when it mattered most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So Michigan advances to the CFP national championship for the first time during the CFP era. And on to the next game. We have the All-State Sugar Bowl between Washington and Texas. Washington beating Texas 37-31 to advance to their first CFP national championship during the CFP era. Michael Penix had a first half to remember. I believe he threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was basically had like a perfect QBR. I mean, it's basically perfect in the first half against Texas. Even running the football, Michael Penix was a monster. In this game, running and throwing the football, as Washington was able to beat Texas. Quinn Ewers, 24 of 43, 318 yards, 1 touchdown. He was pretty much inconsistent majority of the game, up and down. Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk, both over the century mark. Jalen Polk with the lone touchdown in this game for Washington. Dylan Johnson with the hobble foot. He's been injured pretty much majority of the second half of the season. 2 rushing touchdowns, and then there was a pair of rushing touchdowns by C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue for the Texas Longhorns. As that was the only thing they pretty much had going for them was the running game all night. I wish I could have stuck to it, but Washington had a great game plan by leaving Texas, putting Texas in kind of those third and medium situations where they forced Quinn Ewers to pass that football, in this ball game. And they were able to get to Quinn Ewers, a couple times there. Braylon Trice, who's probably going to be playing on Sundays, had a game to remember as well in this game with 2 sacks and 5 tackles in the game. But I think everybody's talking about the late game gaffe, that Washington, had, where, they were running plays when they essentially, didn't need to run any football plays. All they had to do was, pretty much kneel the ball out and pretty much, get to, pretty much get it down to like 13 seconds, 12 seconds, where Texas didn't have a chance and had to go the length of the field. Kalen DeBoer pretty much almost blew this game, when it comes down to it. Dylan Johnson, brushing Dylan Johnson 3 times. On the 3rd time, we know that Dylan Johnson's been having that foot injury. He gets hurt, and that shaves that keeps, they have to burn a timeout. That keeps 30 something plus seconds on the clock, where they punt it, and then Texas, was able to get down into scoring range, and they had that momentum. But they just weren't able to make that play to win the football game. I guess your thoughts on this game, Christian, especially that late game situation.
So Michael Penix Jr., this is a special kid, Izzy. I know you and I have been raving about this young man all season long. And he's come a long way from his Indiana days to now, because I don't think he's half the guy that he is now back in Bloomington. You know, this is a guy who really depended on his running, and I think that's an underrated aspect of his game. His ability to run, his ability to move with a moving pocket, his ability to make that throw on the run. But the former defensive end in me cringes because he leaves games with too clean of a jersey for my liking. And what did I say coming into this game? The Texas pass rush, they had to be on their P's and Q's, and they had to put pressure on Michael Penix Jr. But it also started with the Texas secondary. Could they limit the big play of Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk? And clearly they couldn't, because they both went over the century mark, and Texas just could not get into a rhythm until it was too late. And Washington's defense, I haven't really been sold on them, but they made a play when they had to. The most you look at the Washington offense, right? And yeah, Michael Penix Jr., he's key. And Rome Odunze, he's key. Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, the transfer out of Michigan State. But what really stands out to me about this Washington offense is their offensive line. This may be the best offensive line in the country.
This Washington offensive line is pretty amazing. One thing Michael Penix, I guess from Indiana to now is Michael Penix just relatively wasn't healthy, right? I mean, like he had a couple injuries there at Indiana that kind of limited, but he was always he always showed that potential as a pocket passer, and like you said, he utilized a lot of his his running ability. We saw it in this game, right? He had 31 yards. He showed that he can still get jiggy with it when he gets out the pocket. And so when I look at this game, man, I think that if you can, Texas, right? Texas, should have made it uncomfortable for Michael Penix Jr. majority of the football game. I think they played too much. They respected Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk too much. They played off the ball a little bit too much. They played zone a little bit too much. I would have liked to see them play.
And that's what hurt them. That's exactly what hurt them. Me personally, I would have came out and covered 2, which is keeping those safeties high, playing man coverage underneath, and forcing them to earn everything underneath. Because as soon as they catch that ball, Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk are dangerous in space. And Izzy, look, you and I have played, and what's the one thing we always heard our coaches tell receivers? You can catch the ball all you want, but what you do with it in space,
you tackle.
Is what really
keep it in front of you.
I'm talking about that yak, Matt. I'm talking about those yards after the catch. What do you do with that ball once it's in your hands?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. I agree with you on that. I mean, you got to keep those guys in front of you and, make them make a play. And, Texas didn't do that.
And those are definitely two guys that, those are two guys you don't want to give space and ability to get yards after the catch, right? Because they are two of the most dangerous weapons in college football, and they proved it all year round. And so I agree with you. Cover 2 man would have been I think perfect. I think Texas had the ability to do that. They respected those two guys a little bit too much. I think I would have pinned the ears back of my defensive line, make it uncomfortable, and I think you'll see a lot of that in the next game. As we talk about, now there is only one. As we talk about the preview between Washington and Michigan, going into the national championship in Houston, January 8th, coming up this Monday at 6:30 p.m. You don't want to miss it, ladies and gentlemen. As we are down to the final hour of the college football season. Washington versus Michigan, Pac-12 versus Big Ten. Actually, you might see a lot of this in the coming years as Washington comes over to the Big Ten now with USC and UCLA and a whole bunch of other Pac-12, a couple other Pac-12 teams as well. But yeah, like I said, I think you might see Michigan doing what Christian said, playing some cover 2 man, rearing the ears back of that defensive line. And they certainly have the personnel to do it for Michael Penix. Michael Penix, considering that he played 4 years in the Big Ten, has never played Michigan.
Yeah,
this is the first. This is the first time Michael Penix is playing the University of Michigan. So I can't say, Michael Penix never beat Michigan. Oh, Jim Harbaugh knows how to beat Michael Penix. No, he's never played Michigan. And also, one thing I'll say about when Michael Penix was in the Big Ten, he kept those Indiana teams quite competitive. I remember that game against Ohio State. Kind of put them on the map. I think it was like a 31-38 game or something like that.
Yep, I remember
Indiana
that.
gave them.
I remember that.
Indiana gave Ohio State all they could get, and Michael Penix put up numbers, video game numbers.
Yeah.
In that game. So, I guess I'll say this. I know what's coming. This is Christian's shameless plug, pretty much probably of the week.
Look, man, look. It's the first one of the year, baby. Shameless plug. Number one, baby. Nah, but look. First off, Izzy, man, it's an absolute pleasure to always break this down with you. What is this? Our third or fourth national championship that you and I have been able to. Yeah, for me professionally, this is my 13th. Man, and I love every single second of it. I still remember the first natty I previewed, and I believe it was Alabama and LSU. So I took it back there a little bit. But when I look at this matchup, I just look at both teams. I look at Washington's offense, and Rome Odunze is going to be the best wide receiver that Michigan has seen since Marvin Harrison Jr. of Ohio State. I mean, this guy can impact the game in so many ways. He can go over the middle. He can make those catches in traffic. But where does he earn his bread and butter? His money? Stretching the field vertically. And these Michigan receivers are going to have to be on it. I think there's 2 matchups that I'm looking forward to. Well, first, starting with Michigan's offense. I mean, Michigan's offense has some firepower. May not be as appealing as many other teams in college football, or even the one they're going to see on Monday night in Washington. However, they can push the ball up and down the field. They have a strong offensive line. They have weapons on the perimeter. Roman, last name Wilson, Cornelius
Wilson,
Johnson,
baby.
Colston Loveland, and of course, you have the 2-headed monster in the backfield. But this Michigan defense, they throw different looks at you in a variety of different ways. They almost remind me of the Baltimore Ravens of college football.
Absolutely.
You just never know what it is they're going to throw at you. They'll drop the backers back, they'll patrol the middle, and then all of a sudden you see a safety coming in, and he's coming after the quarterback, and that's exactly what Michigan's defense did on Monday against Alabama. Man, I cannot wait for this game. Obviously, I am previewing it on Monday, so I'm guessing you want my X factors right now, huh, Izzy?
Yeah, let me get some of those X factors.
So the X factor for Washington is Jalen McMillan. Now, look, they have 3 wide receivers who are key contributors to this offense, right? Jalen is the number 1 on any other team in college football. Just imagine Jalen McMillan on Alabama this year. Then we're talking, right? I mean, this guy, he goes up, he can stretch the ball, he can stretch the field. I mean, yeah, he missed a couple of games due to some injuries, but he's an important part of this offense, and you're seeing what he's able to do, Matt. I mean, he touches the ball, and I mean, look, I'm looking at the stats right now. He had 5 catches for 58 yards, and he caught a touchdown pass in that game. And I mean, this is a pretty big trio for Michigan. This is going to be a challenge because all 3 of these guys impact the game in different ways. Rome Odunze is their explosive threat up the field. Same with Jalen Polk. Nate McMillan, Jalen McMillan kind of goes underneath and makes those tough contested catches in traffic. I have a feeling Washington, they're going to target him on third down. And my X factor for Michigan, look, they have a lot of firepower offensively, as I mentioned, right? J.J. McCarthy, Colston Loveland, Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, Blake Corum. But the guy I'm watching is Donovan Edwards. I think they're going to use him in a variety of ways, and they're going to get him in one-on-ones with those linebackers, and that's barbecue chicken for the line, or should I say barbecue husky for for these linebackers, because he's going to create a lot of mismatches. I don't think there's a safety or a linebacker, even a corner, that can cover him because he's so versatile in space. And I think he's going to be key in this one. Yeah, he may be having a down year, averaging only 3.5 yards per carry, but he's been used more as a receiver. And, I think that's what's going to throw Washington off. I cannot wait for this game. There's preview number 1 right there.
Matt, you got any X factors for this game?
Yeah, I mean, we got, 2 stud quarterbacks with Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy Jr. and everything. But my X factor comes down to, how do you use Blake Corum against Washington's defense? And how does Michigan's defense play against Penix Jr.? It's like,
Matt, not to interrupt you. I think, look, the game plan, if I'm a Michigan defender, I'm coming out in a wide 9. So that's the defensive ends on the edge, and I'm containing him. Like, you got me personally, I would pressure him up the middle, throw him off his spot, and I'm pushing him to the right side of the pocket. And if you can do that, you have a chance.
So you push him out the right, but they throw him on the left.
I'm putting guys like Braden McGregor and guys like Derek Moore and Jalen Harrell outside wide, and we come in and bringing that pressure.
Yeah.
Also, I'm bringing pressure up the middle too. I mean, Junior Colson, Michael Barrett.
It's all about adjustment too.
Michigan just comes out in waves of ends and linebackers. I mean, they relatively stay fresh. They go with their linebackers because they go pretty deep. They go about 6-7 deep.
They do.
So honestly, they're relative. They remind me of the New York Giants.
The
New York Giants used to. Well, I mean, they remind me. They have that Baltimore Ravens defense kind of setup. I think they're playing a 3-4.
They play a 3-4.
They play 3-4.
Yeah.
And so, but when I say New York Giants, remember when New York Giants used to have that NASCAR lineup?
Yeah.
Back when they won those Super Bowls, and they used to throw all those guys, Strahan and Justin Tuck,
just running fast.
Yeah, OG
as you can go. Yeah.
And they used to have waves like 5-6 guys that could come and pressure you on the quarterback, and that's what Michigan kind of brings. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna Jim Harbaugh is not afraid to do that either. And he'll throw everything at you if he needs to.
You got guys. You got guys that can also play press coverage. Will Johnson, Josh Wallace, Jermaine Green. Quentin Johnson. You got guys that can play press coverage.
You can name
these wide receivers from Washington, and let the front seven get the front seven get to you.
Yeah, and I think the 2 most important matchups in this game. One, the Michigan defensive front against this Washington offensive line, because Washington hasn't seen a pass rush as formidable and as stout and as consistent as what they're going to see on Monday night in Houston. Absolutely. And I'm looking to see this Michigan secondary against the trio of Polk, Jalen McMillan, and Roma Dunze, because the emphasis is going to be on Dunze and Polk. Yeah, I'm okay with McMillan beating me, but just as long as Jalen and Rome don't go off, like if you can contain them, Michigan has a chance to bring that natty to Ann Arbor.
I mean,
Yeah,
Michigan had, Michigan, went against, a bevy of good wide receivers this year. One of them being named Marvin Harrison. Oh no, let me do
Yeah,
it
say
again.
that. You say that.
Maserati Mar.
Mark
They
Marvin,
that's
2024.
righty.
That's right.
they relatively, kind of, kept, Maserati Marv in check a little bit until the end
Yeah.
of that game. And so and so I have no doubt that this Michigan secondary and this Michigan defense can keep Washington in check. So I guess, I go with my X factors. I think obviously for Washington, X factor is going to be, for me, it's pretty simple. It's Michael Penix Jr. Yeah, he's the X factor. I mean, he's the guy that stirs. He's the straw that stirs the drink for the Washington offense. Also, what's the health of Dylan Johnson? Right? I mean, yeah, he looked pretty banged up. He looked
Yeah,
bad.
but
Yeah,
He's been running like a man on fire, but that foot. I mean, I know he's a gamer. He said, "Man, you're gonna have to cut this foot off before I don't play."
yeah. I mean,
But
the thing is, Washington has kept things close during so many
well, they
games.
every
You
game
know,
pretty much almost every
yeah.
game this
So
season.
it's like,
I've
all
said it
right,
last year. They always elevated their play. They elevated their play of every team this season.
yeah. So when it comes
Um,
down to
yeah.
the last 3 or 4 minutes, Washington has stuck
Well,
in
that's
there.
what scares me. That's what scares me is late game execution for Washington.
right.
Mhm.
That's I mean, we
100%.
saw it the last game. Late game execution. Is
Yeah,
Kyle DeBoer gonna get in his own way? Is he gonna outthink himself against Michigan if they do have a lead, if they do have a similar situation like that against Michigan? You can't do
yeah.
that
Can Michigan
against Michigan. If
um,
Michigan had that
obtain
ball,
that?
like Texas had that ball, there's no doubt in my mind that Michigan scores a touchdown and wins that football game. Last week,
Yeah,
there's no
true.
doubt in my mind that Michigan gets it done. Jim Harbaugh. The thing about Harbaugh is that he runs like look, he's the San Francisco 49er, former pro quarterback for a long time. He's throwing out, NFL concept type of plays that some of these guys at the college level just cannot keep up with. And he creates a lot of confusion. I mean, he's what, like what Kyle Shanahan was or is what Jim Harbaugh, was when, before. He's the pre-Kyle Shanahan, like, what he used to do in San Francisco. I mean, with a lot of his motion, a lot of and let me tell you this. Let me say this. I think that Washington's defense is gonna have to, like I said, they're gonna have to be able to, keep the pressure on JJ McCarthy. You can't allow
Yeah,
JJ McCarthy to get out the pocket because he can run, right? So I guess my X factor on the defensive side is that man, Braylon Trice, right? He's gonna
yeah.
have to get
You got to
home.
keep the
He's gonna have
pressure.
he's going to have to be special. He was special in the last game. He could be special in this game as well. He's going to have to be another X factor for Washington, enable for them to, enable for to keep things uncomfortable for JJ McCarthy. Because if JJ McCarthy gets outside the pocket, he's just lethal. He can either, kill you on the run or he can kill you with the pass. And we all saw it against Alabama. He made some dart-like throws on the run, some NFL type of throws where you were just mind blown a little bit, where it was squeezed into tight windows. And I think we don't consider the fact that he has a stronger arm than what we may believe that he, to have. So JJ McCarthy has an NFL type of arm, and NFL type of intangibles. I guess, my X factor for Michigan, on the offensive side of the ball, has to be Blake Corum. I'm not going to say JJ, but it has to be Blake Corum. I think, like you said, we saw last year, how how he affected the game against CCU where he didn't play, right? Well, I think now you have him, and he's just so quick. Kind of getting in and out those cuts, and bouncing the runs to the outside. That one run where he scored a touchdown where he bounced it to the outside. That was a thing of beauty. That is something you see in the NFL a lot. Running backs, that shiftiness. So that can give Washington some problems. So Blake Corum on the offensive side has to be my X factor. And then defensively, Honestly, I'm not even going to say just one guy. I think it's going to be this defensively. The X factor is just this front seven for Michigan. How are they going to make things tough against a really great offensive line in the University of Washington? Are they going to be able to get Michael Penix in those third and long situations? Are they going to be able to get pressure? Are they going to be able to sack Michael Penix like they sacked Jalen Milroe 6 times? I don't know if they can. I think they can. I actually think they can. I think that they can get to Michael Penix just as much as they got to Jalen Milroe last week. This defense is built different, and it's been different all season.
6 times is a lot. I'm going to say 4 or 5, maybe.
We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, that's a lot.
I don't think Washington hasn't seen a defense like Michigan. I think the best defense they've seen.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan has a hell of a defense.
The best defense they've seen all season was probably Oregon. I mean, obviously Texas. Yeah. Texas is great.
Honestly,
they played zone most of the game.
I might have to slightly disagree with you right there because Oregon State played them pretty tough.
Oregon State did play them tough. There's a lot of teams that played them
tough.
That's
right, Christian.
There's a lot of teams. Arizona State played them tough. Washington State played them tough. That's the thing I said about the Pac-12 this season is that everybody brought their best. They brought the kitchen sink at Washington, and all Washington did was stare them in the eye and elevate their play and win every single football game like they were supposed to, even if it was a close win, even if all the pundits said Washington is supposed to beat Arizona State by 21 points. Washington State by 20 points. Washington's supposed to beat Arizona. Arizona, by the way, I've raved about Arizona all season long. They're supposed to beat Arizona, in Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, they're supposed to beat Arizona
by 14 points, but they didn't.
14, and they're supposed to beat ASU by like 40.
Those teams brought the kitchen sink. Those teams elevated their play against Washington, and I want to say this is that Washington, they're battle tested. If there's one team that is a battle tested team all season that played a bunch of ranked opponents and a bunch of teams that really brought their A game and they won a bunch of close battles, it's the University of Washington. It's the University of Washington. I do agree though that Oregon State.
I haven't referred to them as the cardiac kids for a reason because they know how to get your blood pressure up. How many games since the Oregon game have we seen them where it looks like their backs are against the wall and they find a way to survive? Look, this is why Kalen DeBoer was named Coach of the Year. He gets his men up and ready to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He had their back up against the wall in most of their games. And they found a way to win. It's like, all right, Michigan, has the top, 2 defense, top level running back, a top quarterback. So, and the top, coach in Jim Harbaugh. So how are they going to, go up against that? It's like, this will be, a fun game to watch.
Yeah, and
how they go up against all that.
Yeah, and one aspect of the game for both teams that you're not really hearing much about is the running game because Dylan Johnson has been so effective for this Washington Huskies group, and it's understandable for him to fly under the radar when you're playing with one of the best wide receivers, if not arguably the best wide receiver in college football. And
don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to be disrespectful. When you play with one of the best wide receivers in the country and one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but Dylan Johnson, he's been a key cog to this offense.
That foot he's been playing with. I don't know what his health is going to look like. He's going to be a gamer against Michigan. He's your downhill guy. I forget where he transferred from the SEC. Didn't he transfer from Mississippi State or something like that? I can't remember which school Dylan Johnson transferred in from. But he's a guy, he's your north-south type of runner. I'm looking it up right now, by the way. He's your north-south type of runner. Yeah, he transferred from Mississippi State. And he's a guy that he came into this offense, wanting to expand his role as a running back more, as opposed to when he was at Mississippi State. He wasn't getting the touches like he wanted to. He was more utilized as a passing down back. And they really just and we all know that Mississippi State likes to throw that thing, right? So Dylan Johnson wanted to go to a team that utilized him more. He transferred into Washington. 122 carries on the season, over 1,100 yards, 5.2 a pop. He's always been a guy that he's the average for his career, 5.2 a pop, 16 touchdowns on the season. He has more than he totaled more touchdowns on the ground this season than he did in all 3 years at Mississippi State. So Dylan Johnson is definitely, one of the key guys for Washington. But they're going to need him. I don't know how that foot is going to be come Monday. But I'm pretty sure he'll be a gamer. I'm pretty sure he's going to go for Washington. And we saw him, have one of the best games of his Washington career in the Pac-12 championship game, where he ran for over 150 yards, a couple touchdowns against Oregon.
I remember that game against USC where he ran for 256 and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a monster. He's different. He's different.
Yeah, he's a special kid. He reminds me of a bigger version of Michael Turner.
Yeah, he's different. He's different. He's a bowling ball. He bounces off. He bounces off. Michael Turner used to bounce off those tackles and get a lot of yards after that. Yards after the first contact hit. And once he hits that sideline, it's bye-bye.
It's over.
Once it's over. Once he gets in the open field, he's got that elusive speed that to get to the touchdown, to get to the end zone.
Exactly.
So I know, Christian, you are probably coming up with your prediction an hour before the game.
Absolutely.
Do you guys go ahead and drop it. Go ahead and tell the folks.
Look, man, the title has been thought out. The preview is coming Monday, about an hour and 30 minutes. Off, you see the link right there, the dailyblitz.blog. Enter your email address and become a subscriber today. National championship preview coming your way. Washington Huskies, Michigan Wolverines, H-Town. We coming, baby. H-Town.
We coming.
We on
Matt, who wins this football game?
Hell to the victors.
Hell to the victors. Hell to the victors. Valiant. Hell to the conquering heroes. Hell to Michigan, the champions of the world.
I'm giving, Michigan in a close battle, though. It's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be a fun game. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Matt. I think Michigan hoists the 2024 CFP National Championship when it's all said and done. I think it is going to be a closer game than what folks anticipate. But I believe that Michigan's style of defense, I don't think Michael Penix Jr. is going to be able to throw for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns in the first half against the Michigan Wolverines. Not happening. I don't see it. All I see is that defense getting after Michael Penix Jr., forcing him into third and long situations. They're going to force him. He's going to have to run the football. They're going to force him to. They're going to put the ball in his hands, and they're going to force him to make plays with his feet. He's going to have to revert to his ways in Indiana, and we all know that ain't doing nothing for me. That ain't doing nothing for Washington, right, Christian? I mean, yes, he's getting some chunk plays here and there, but as long as you're keeping Jalen Polk, as long as you're keeping those wide receivers, Roma Dunze, as long as you're keeping those guys in check majority of the game, and you're not letting Michael Penix. I mean, damn near every damn play that Washington does is a shot play. Like they're taking shots left and right. Their first, second, third down don't matter.
Yeah, they love those home run plays down the field. So I just want to see what Michigan does to contain that and to keep that, like, keeping everything underneath. I'm cool with Dylan Johnson running the football. Like, I really am. Anybody but Roma Dunze.
Anybody but those wide receivers to beat you over the top.
All those receivers can impact the game in so many different ways.
Yeah, and if you let Michael Penix sit in that pocket and pick you apart, it's going to be a long day. And I know Jim Harbaugh knows that it's going to be a long day. That defense is going to. I think just my opinion. I think that defense is just too deep. That defensive line is too deep. I think they're going to get after Michael Penix Jr. This is the best defense, I think, in my opinion, in college football. And I think they're going to be able to get after Washington. And yes, hail to the victors. Michigan lifts the 2024 college football national championship. And we got a comment here from my buddy David Henderson. Pick against us. Hashtag bet. He is a Michigan Wolverine fan. And I will admit to all the Michigan Wolverine fans, I am sorry. I picked Alabama over you guys. I picked Alabama to win the national championship game. And so I do apologize. This Michigan Wolverine team showed me that they can play with anybody, literally anybody in college football, and they're going to prove it again on Monday night. But that's been a wrap, ladies and gentlemen, for the college football showdown. We will come back here for the preview, for the instant reaction. I'll come back here at least. I don't know about you, Christian.
I'll be there.
I'll come back for the instant reaction on Monday after that national championship game to close out college football showdown for the year. So you guys don't want to miss that content on Monday night after the football game. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. This is going to be a fun one, a doozy of one. And so you guys do not want to miss it. And like I said, go catch Christian's article on his prediction for the game on a dailyblitz.blog. Drop the link in the comment section there as he drops that an hour before kickoff. What's that? 5:30 hour before kickoff. That'll be 5:30 Eastern time, Christian.
Yeah, about. Yep. So
about 5:30 Eastern time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to put my thoughts into this one. It's gonna be fun. You know, this offense against that defense. This is strength facing strength.
I'm looking forward to it, brother.
Absolutely. But you guys have a great night. And hey, in case I miss you, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Izzy, you just put off the backboard for me for the first time in 2000. Just say one thing. Holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy and sayonara, suckers. We will see you tomorrow on the crossover with me, David, and TJ tomorrow as we wrap up, as we talk about the OG Anunoby trade and some guys that may be on the move in the NBA landscape. So you guys don't want to miss that content tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So catch the prime tomorrow for the crossover as we get down to the nitty gritty of the NBA. But peace out, guys, and then we'll see you tomorrow. This is Israel Rivera signing off, guys.
All right, be safe.